Hi, my name is John Conrad, and my group and I did a presentation on oral and nonverbal communication. First, the importance of communication. Language is everywhere and it's used every day. Different cultures may have different types of language and use differently, but essentially, language is all the same. Language and culture are closely related. It's hard to leave out one while studying the other. Language depicts values and beliefs. With different forms of slang and dialects, the way a person speaks will give the listener an idea of what kind of values are present in the speaker, and also will tell what areas the speaker is familiar with. Now to talk about nonverbal communication is Cheney.
Paralanguage is a nonverbal element of communication that is used to change meaning and express emotion. It may be expressed knowingly or unknowingly, and it includes the volume, pitch, and in some instances, intonation of speech. It has been suggested that as much as 70% of what we communicate when talking directly with others is through paralanguage. One type of paralanguage is proxemics. When we speak to another individual or group, the distance our bodies are physically apart also communicates a message. Proxemics is the study of such interaction distances and other culturally defined uses of space. Most of us are unaware of the importance of space in communication until we are confronted with someone who uses it differently than us. In North America, corporate offices are often organized differently than other cultures. The boss is usually physically isolated in a very separate private room. This tends to minimize his or her personal contact with ordinary workers. In contrast, Japanese offices commonly are set up with the boss's desk at the end of a row of pushed-together desks used by subordinate employees. This maximizes his interaction with them. Another type of paralanguage is oculesics, which refers to the study of eye movement, eye contact, and pupil dilation in terms of nonverbal communication. Eye contact indicates interest, openness, and sometimes even attraction, though aggressive eye contact or staring can be interpreted as a sign of hostility. In addition to this, lack of eye contact also transmits a message, oftentimes that the listener is bored or uninterested. Culture plays a huge role in the necessity of eye contact and the stability it provides. American cultures differ greatly from Asian cultures where eye contact is often considered rude. Another form of paralanguage is chronemics, which is the time use in communication, such as wasting or pausing. The types of chronemic cultures are monochromic and polychronic. Monochromic culture can be defined as a culture that structures various activities based on the notion of time, which is believed to be concrete, linear, from A to B, and universal and as such is expected to be complied with by the other party. Examples of monochromic cultures are Russians, Canadians, and Danish. A polychromic culture can be defined as culture that structures various activities based on interpersonal relationships with people and views time as cyclic, A to B to C to A to B to C, and relative. Polychromic culture examples are Chinese, Egyptians, and Filipino. Now here's Lauren, and she is going to talk about a few more types of nonverbal paralanguage.
Olfactics, or smell, is a nonverbal communication and is very important. A person's smell can have a positive or negative effect on the oral message. The way someone smells remains in our memory after the person has left. Most people of the United States respond negatively to what they consider bad odors such as body odor, breath odor, or clothes. Other cultures have different concepts of natural odors. They consider them as normal and think attitudes of people in the United States are unnatural. Arabs, for example, are comfortable with natural odors. Other cultures in which smell plays an important role include Japanese and Samoans. Cultures that include a little meat in the diet, such as Chinese, say that people who consume a lot of meat, such as the United States Americans, produce an offensive odor. Haptics, or touch, refers to communicating through the use of bodily contact. When used properly, touch can create feelings of warmth and trust. When used improperly, touch can betray trust and cause annoyance. Some cultures are very comfortable with bodily contact and others avoid it. People in the United States are taught that appropriate touch includes shaking hands, but that in business situations, giving hugs or other expressions of affection to supervisors and co-workers encourage understanding that it is generally considered inappropriate. In the Middle East, you should avoid touching the person with the left hand because the left hand is considered unclean and reserved for personal hygiene. Kinetics is a term used for communicating through various types of body movements, including facial expressions, gestures, posture and stance, and other mannerisms that may accompany or replace oral messages. The face and eyes take the most expressive types of body language. People of all cultures learn how to control facial expressions to disguise emotions that are inappropriate in a specific setting. The Japanese may smile to cover a range of emotions, including anger, happiness, or sadness, although the smile to people in the United States means happiness. Gestures are another important aspect of body language. People in the United States typically use moderate gesturing. Italians, Greeks, and some Latin Americans use energetic gestures when speaking, although Japanese and Chinese people tend to keep their hands and arms close to their bodies when speaking. Posture is the way someone stands, sits, or walks, can send positive or negative nonverbal messages. Postures can signal agreement or disagreement. The posture of people in the United States tends to be casual. They sit in a relaxed manner and may slouch when they stand. This behavior in Germany is considered rude. An awareness of cultural differences in facial expressions, gestures, and posture is important to successful intercultural encounters. Chromatics or color can affect your mood, your emotions, and your impressions of others. Certain colors have negative and positive meanings. Color also has an influence on foreign cells. Blue was ranked as the most preferred color by people of Austria, China, and the United States, and ranked second in Brazil. Other colors ranked in the top 5 by these countries were white, green, black, and red. Firms who sell their products in other countries should be aware that the color used in packaging a product may influence the purchasing decisions of a potential customer. For example, packaging a product in red would be appealing to customers in China but less appealing to potential buyers in South Korea because of the possible association of red with communism. Determining culture meanings of various colors is advised to ensure that nonverbal messages associated with color are positive ones. Here's Callie to talk about more nonverbal communication.
Nonverbal communication refers to non-word messages such as gestures, facial expressions, eye contact, and silence. Silence can be interpreted in many ways depending on the situation, the duration of the silence, and the culture. Interpretations of silence include agreement or disagreement, lack of interest, or contempt. Silence can also mean that the person is giving the topic some thought. A prolonged silence following a question could be interpreted that the person doesn't know the answer, and silence following an inappropriate statement is usually interpreted as disapproval. The United States, along with the Germans and the French, are uncomfortable with silence. And silence in East Asia and Finland is associated with listening and learning. Silence protects your privacy and individualism and shows respect for privacy and individualism of others. On the other hand, the Japanese like the periods of silence. They don't like to be hurried. Nonverbal leakage occurs when people can't control the messages they send through behavior or gestures or facial expressions. It occurs in the arms and hands as well as the feet and legs, since these areas are more difficult to control. For example, people who are being deceptive will often lick their lips, grip an armrest, or tap their fingers on the table. People who are untruthful often gulp, sweat, or play with a pen. You have to learn the meaning of a leakage in other cultures because nonverbals do not always mean the same thing in different cultures. Objects, signs, and symbols are useful in the presence of linguistic barriers in intercultural situations. Articles of clothing and accessories are considered to be objects that can provide useful nonverbal information. For example, Marines in Iraq were cautioned against wearing sunglasses because Iraqis prefer direct eye contact. It would help establish trust. In some cultures, dressing casually during business encounters with international visitors may convey a lack of respect. To imply that a business has international interest or contacts, a firm may display in the lobby framed pictures of the world or several clocks. Other objects that may have a positive impact on wealthy international clients are displays of antiques works of arts, and wall hangings of substantially monetary value. Signs and symbols are helpful to travelers. Examples of signs may be something like arrows pointing for directions or running figures to indicate where the exits are. Symbols may include pictures of a cup and saucer indicating locations of coffee shops, and knives and a picture of a knife and a fork indicate restaurants nearby. In intercultural situations, objects, signs, and symbols are important sources of nonverbal communication that cross language barriers and make international travels easier. Here's John to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of verbal and nonverbal communication.
Advantages of oral communication. First of all, knowing the language gives you an upper hand. Knowing the language will make meetings run more smoothly. There is no need for hiring a translator, and it ensures that no misinterpretation will occur. You may also get respect from other cultures. Knowing the language shows that you have put in the effort in learning the language so that you are serious about wanting to do business with that culture, and you may also get respect from other cultures who are witness to this, because if you decide to do business with another culture, you already have that good reputation. Disadvantages of oral communication. If you're not fluent, there could cause some confusion. Because an employee may not be fluent, there may be some word mix-ups, or they may use a different dialect. A different dialect may have different meanings for a commonly used word in one dialect. Slang makes it very informal. If one culture uses slang, then you may appear to be more formal than you need to be. But if you learn the slang and you use it in a meeting, you may come off as being non-professional. Offensive words. Certain words in one language could be commonly used in one culture, but in another culture it could be offensive and ruin your chances for that business venture. Advantages of nonverbal communication, facial expressions, and body language. If a culture that you are trying to do business with doesn't understand you, they can definitely understand a happy or angry face, a funny or serious face, and whether a project is good or bad using thumb gestures. Disadvantages of nonverbal communication. Certain looks or movements can be misinterpreted. A plain face in one culture may be taken as a serious face or even an angry face in another. A happy smile in one culture may be taken as being funny or not serious. A handshake is good for meetings and compliance with business deals, but if gripped too hard, you may be considered as being too eager, and the other business partner may have second thoughts. Or a firm handshake may also be you trying to be intimidating. If not shaken firmly enough, you may be taken as not serious about your business venture. In conclusion, there are many different types of oral and nonverbal communication with different cultures. It is important to do your research and to know what is appropriate for one culture so that you may do business with them.